The very first words of the Bible are, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Do you believe that? This used to be something that people would just take for granted and say, well, of course, everything was created by God. Look at the design. But we're growing up in a different time. And now we're told that this might not be an option. But the question is, what do you really believe? And have you even thought about it? Because fewer and fewer people are taking time to think through the bigger questions in life. You know, we live in a real busy time with a lot of multitasking where we jump from one thing to another. And when's the last time you really just sat down and were quiet and really thought through, is there a purpose to my existence? And that's what we want you to do, is to just think. To think right now. You are standing on a giant ball that is 2/3 water, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. So just think about that for a second. And think about the fact that there's a ball of fire that's 93 million miles away and somehow never burns up, and that's what is keeping us warm. And so as we're flying around that ball of fire, try just imagine, okay, what is the point of me? Am I just an accident? Because many of us were just taught to believe that we're accidents. Where does it come from? According to Wikipedia, it says that the formation of our solar system began 4.6 billion years ago with the gravitational collapse of a small part of a giant molecular cloud. Most of the collapsing mass collected in the center, forming the sun, while the rest flattened into a protoplanetary disk out of which the planets, moons, asteroids, and other small solar system bodies formed. Is that it? Is that the whole story? That somehow there was this molecular cloud that was just always there? And that somehow it exploded into our solar system as you see it now, and that's the end of the story? Or is there something greater? That maybe this wasn't all just an accident, maybe you weren't an accident. In fact, the Bible says the exact opposite, that there are no accidents. In fact, God says even in His creation, in Romans 1:20, it says, ever since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities and His divine nature have been clearly seen so that men are without excuse. God says you could look at the creation, look at the created world, and you would see Him. Somehow you would recognize that there was something behind all of this, someone behind all of it. You'd see His invisible qualities and His divine nature. In fact, in Psalm 19, it says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims His handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There's no speech, nor are there words, whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world. That you and I are not alone. This didn't happen by accident. In fact, in Acts chapter 17, it's an amazing passage where it says in verse 25, the God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is He served by human hands as though He needed anything, since He Himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. And He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward Him and find Him. Yet He is actually not far from each of us. So what the Bible says is that the God who made us doesn't really need us to do anything for him. In fact, he gives us life and breath and everything. But what he says there was, you're not an accident, I'm not an accident. He says, in fact, he determined exactly when we would be born and where we would be born. And he would orchestrate the situations and circumstances in our lives so that we might feel our way towards him and find him, though he's not far from each of us. So according to the Bible, there's a reason why I'm here right now, why you're watching this right now. It's not coincidence. He says he determined when you would be born, and he determined exactly where you would live. And the purpose of that was that you might feel your way toward him and actually find him.